Hello, everyone. Today is Wednesday, 18th of September, 2024, and this is the Cluster API office hour meetings. Before starting, just a few notes. So this meeting abide to the CNCF code of conduct. Be kind with each other. And we have a meeting note agenda document, which I'm going to link in the Zoom chat. If you don't have access, you have to join the SIG cluster lifecycle mailing list. And with that, we can get started with today's agenda. And as usual, we give a room to new attendee to introduce themselves if they want. So if you are a new attendee, please use the raise hand feature in the Zoom chat, which is in under reaction, and introduce yourself. Okay, dokie. It does not. I don't see raise hand and raised, so we can move on with the agenda, and we have open proposal readouts. We only have one open proposal now because the proposal about improvement started merged this week. I don't know if Guillermo want to give an update about this proposal or what.
Yeah, real quick, not big updates. We'll continue addressing the comments. Thank you, everyone who has dropped comments, especially Vince and Lubomir. Very deep review. One thing that I will say is we were trying to avoid giving examples or like showing how this was going to look on the API level, just to avoid diverging the conversations from the high level abstractions, high level concepts to the API discussions, which we'll need to have at some point, but we wanted alignment first on that high level flow. It seems that that decision is kind of like affecting the review negatively and making more difficult for people to understand those concepts. So we might have to backtrack there and give at least a draft or what we think they should look in the API. I will choose request to reviewers, if they can, do not focus their comments too much on the specific naming of the API fields or their placement in a particular object, because we're more than happy to discuss that later, and we will like to first get an agreement on the abstractions, the concepts, the ideas, especially about using webhooks and the different responsibilities of the different controllers. But we'll do that in order to facilitate the review. That's it. And everyone who hasn't participated, if you're interested in the topic, please join the review.
Thank you. Feel free to reach out to me if you want to discuss how to address this general concern about giving example on or providing API, because I think there is still value. You know, it is a very complex topic, and helping and maybe helping folks in getting up to speed step by step is still valuable. But yeah, let's discuss. Maybe we can also figure it out if we need a ad hoc meeting to just talk about this, so we can nail down problem quickly. But yeah, thank you very much for driving this. I think that is really an interesting proposal and could be a great winning point if we can have in place support aside of mutability that will remain the main track for copy. So yeah, thank you again, Guillermo and team. Okay, dokie. If we are done with open proposal, we can move to discussion topic, and the first one is from Stefan.
Yep. Hey, can you please click on the first PR link there? Okay, so basically, a lot of copy providers, also controller runtime and a bunch of others, were basically using action from KubeBuilder release tools, I think. Maybe we can see it in the diff. So the old one on the left side, KubeBuilder release tools. And basically this image is going to go away, I think in March 2025 or something. What we did instead, and also what KubeBuilder did, is basically switch to shell script. They might maybe implement another option where you can basically somehow use the action directly from the KubeBuilder release tools repo, and then it runs the shell script without requiring a Docker image or something. But it didn't really look into that. So what we basically did here is we just replaced using this image by replacing it by using a shell script and just inlining it. We did this in core copy, we did it in capv, in control runtime, in controller tools. I looked at the code search. And I think the only other repositories are basically almost all of them like in the cluster API umbrella. So I would just thought I'd bring it up here. I think it's not really worth like an entry in our cluster API migration guide because it's pretty much independent of your entire implementation of part of GitHub action, and it only affects this list of repositories. And I was hoping that I just, probably reach like almost all people in this meeting here, at least one person per provider. So I'm definitely seeing someone from AWS, probably also someone from Cluster API Operator and add-on provider Harm here. Willi is here as well. So maybe you can tell it to Jonathan or something. Feel free to ask a question, Nolan.
I think this is also generating release notes for Kappa. I think this is the repo that we're using for it. Should we look at moving away from that entirely?
I don't know how you do it. So this repository, I think, contains two things. One is a GitHub action to verify PR titles, and another thing is a release note tool to generate them. And the dependency between both is that basically the tool that validates PR titles validates them in a way that a release note tool can use PR titles to generate release notes. So technically you can replace one and keep the other. And as far as I'm aware, the current goal was only to get rid of the action, because basically what it would have required is to implement image promotion for KubeBuilder release tools. And KubeBuilder release tools was already in a state where almost nobody knew how to release it correctly, even before that moved to image promotion. And there's basically also nobody there anymore that maintains that repository. So I'm neither a reviewer nor an approver, just as a disclaimer up front. But I was asked to help with this image promotion by someone who is technically still a maintainer, but doesn't seem to be allowed to maintain it anymore. So I just raised the question, hey, instead of implementing image promotion and still having no maintainers, maybe it would be good to just say, people, let's just use the shell script, because why go through all this work to if you can use the shell script set. But yeah, that still leaves the question open to, if you use the release note tool from this repository, what's the future of that? And I simply can't tell you. What we did in core copy is, and I think that was before I started in copy like 2 or 3 years ago, is that we mostly copied this tool over and made some modifications to it, and then it got its a life of its own. And now it has like probably twice the amount of features. But yeah, core copy is basically just using its own tool that is stored in core copy. And in capv, for example, we just use the one from core copy to generate our release notes, so we don't need the one in KubeBuilder release tools anymore. I know that some other providers, I think Azure, if it didn't change, they're using the upstream release note generation tool, but they also basically, so there's stuff that comes with it. So the release note tool that we have and KubeBuilder release tool that basically works on PR titles and icons. But the one from upstream KK is working based on labels on PRs, and on, if you want to have a release note entry, you can have like a comment in your PR description. So basically that requires a change in workflow if you want to change the tool. But yeah, I think Azure is pretty happy with using the KK one. So I guess there are 3 options. Keep the one you have, switch to the one in core copy, or switch to the one that KK is using, and maybe take a look at the Azure provider, how they're doing it, and see if that fits with what you want to do. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Stefan, for bringing this up. Just a note, maybe we should just open a issue on those repo, and then they can take over. We discussed a few options. If they want help, they can reach out.
Yeah, I think I just open a Slack thread and see people that I know from each repo.
Okay.
Then I just don't want to create 4 issues because I'm lazy.
Okay.
I'm just here. but I'll do it.
Good, thank you. I think we can move to the next one, Mike.
Yeah, I basically was looking for some advice from the community here, or maybe see if there's an objection to this. So like CapK, the release numbering for CapK has been kind of weird since we created it. But I noticed recently when I was doing the 1.7 update, and thank you, Nolan, for the assist on the review there. Um, we have an opportunity where we could like align the numbers so that we like right now we're on the 0.7 release, but like I think we could just add an extra like 0.7.99 release for the current changes, and then we could have it line up with like the minor patch numbers. So like the next release would be 0.8, and that would align with Cluster API 1.8. Does anybody have thoughts about this, or is it like should we not bother about the version number alignment or anything, or should I just go ahead and do it? Like, I don't know, just kind of curious to see what the community thought, or if anybody has opinions.
I can give mine. Sorry, I don't have a raised hand. But it is your choice. Honestly, I don't think it is a good one because maybe, let me say, your release should be linked to the amount of your breaking change. You could always have the need to do a breaking change to your API, not in sync with copy release. And so if you have your own release versioning, you can do, you are free to follow the need of your project. Otherwise, you're kind of linked to project to cluster API release schedule. Could be good or bad, but this is my comment. I think that each project has its own life cycle ultimately, and link it to project maybe not ideal, but Stefan.
I think it depends a bit on how strong your dependency is. So if it's just like any other infra provider, then I think I agree with what Fabrizio said. If it's more a situation like cluster autoscaler, where basically you need exactly the same version as the Kubernetes version, and there's like a one-to-one mapping basically, then it makes a lot of sense to use the same version. But was a no strong opinion.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the discussion. This is what I'm trying to like wrestle with at the moment. Like, does it make sense, or is it maybe just not even worth the trouble of doing it, and just kind of proceed with the version scheme the way it is? I think I appreciate like Fabrizio and Stefan. Thank you for the guidance there. I think I probably won't make any special attempt to have the versions line up. I'll just keep releasing them, the way they are. Cool. Yeah, this is good for me unless others have thoughts.
Thank you, Mike. I have the next topic. So, as I said before, the proposal for improving status in cluster API resources is merged this week. And thank you again for everyone for the great discussion and all the improvement that we made to this proposal. So I have a breaking issue, which is currently work in progress. I plan to get to something more complete beginning next week, but we are starting doing some work. And one important thing that I want to bring up is that now this proposal is merged. Basically, the clock is now ticking for sunsetting the legacy cluster API condition. So I added the deprecation notice on top of the old cluster API condition proposal. Okay. I think that I think this is important that everyone using all the cluster API condition in their provider or in their project should take a look. The TLDR is the following. So first of all, there is still a long way to go. Things are not changing for 1 year and a half, more or less, if everything goes by plan. But at the end of the story, so in 1 year now, basically folks using legacy cluster API condition will have two choices. One is to transition to Meta v1 condition, like we are doing in Cluster API, and tools aligning to Kubernetes and Kubernetes guideline, etc., which is the thing that I recommend because it makes every provider aligned to the entire ecosystem. But it takes work and a little bit of planning. This is why I'm giving the heads up now, and I will keep giving it also in future. The second choice is still, you are free if you want to stick to legacy cluster API conditions, but you have to account that the utility that you are using today will go away from CAPI. So basically you have to fork something from CAPI utils. It is a choice of that each provider should do. Take a look. There is time, but the sooner you have your plan, the better you can manage it. And if there are questions about this, otherwise I move to the next point. Mike, go.
Sorry, the unmute button gets stuck behind another window. I'm just wondering, like for providers who are looking to kind of make this change, I guess is there an example we could look at just to see like kind of what like so I could look like what code changes? I mean, I can't just change from like cluster APA.condition to meta v1.condition, or is it just that simple that I could just switch it over?
There is not yet a code example because we don't have yet implemented in cluster API. One of the PR that we did is we started by implementing a new set of condition utils, like the one that we are using, which is based on new conditions. So the user interface is not 100% equal. It's different due to the nature of the condition, due to the fact that we now fully support positive and negative polarity, stuff like that. So let me say, and this is an angle. So condition util will not be the same. And the other angle is that if you want to abide to the Kubernetes deprecation rules, you have to go through a transition like the one we described in the proposal, so you can allow down conversion, up conversion, all this stuff. If instead you are a test provider like CapK, for instance, maybe you take some shortcut and you do a breaking change, and that's probably okay. But yeah, if you are a provider which has huge adoption out in the wild, probably it's not feasible. You have to go through a transition. So,
right.
Yeah, let me say, the working cap is not started. Probably at the end of the work, there will be plenty of examples of how to do it. But yeah, I think that each one has to figure it out this journey, and this was the main reason of this call out.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and the whole upgrade process or the conversion that might need to happen, I wasn't even thinking about that. So yeah, that's a big deal too.
Stefan?
Yeah, I would imagine that we probably have the Kubernetes Bootstrap provider and probably also the Docker provider as like some sort of reference implementation how people should usually do it. Because we also need test coverage, of course. I mean, the Bootstrap provider is the production provider, obviously, but the Docker one, we also need test coverage. So,
Ivan?
Yeah, I was just going to say, so I work on the cluster API provider for Linode, and ours is still pretty early on in its development. We still just have alpha API. So if this is a change we can adopt now before we really have many folks using it, I'm absolutely interested in trying to adopt this as quickly as we can before we need to sort of handle more complicated upgrade procedures. So if there's examples that we can use for what this might look like, or if it's just switching to the Meta v1 type and handling the fallout in our code from that, that's also should be simple enough. But definitely looking to adopt this as soon as we can.
So to angle this, it or probably one. So it really, first of all, I recommend you to read the proposal, because the proposal basically describe a timeline for when things will happen in main cluster API. Okay. And then according to the timeline of your own provider, you have to see if basically you can start immediately using the new condition from the get-go or not.
Yeah.
I think that's the main disclaimer. If you have more questions, maybe we tackle this offline after you read the proposal.
Yeah, I'll take another read to a deeper read to the proposal. Thank you.
Okay. If there are no more questions about the sunsetting legacy cluster API condition, there is some other changes that the proposal introduced, and those changes are about the provider contract, which is evolving basically from current v1 beta 1 to v1 beta 2, like condition types. I'm going to update the documentation that we have about the provider contract as described in the proposal in the next week, possibly. But yeah, while looking at the current documentation about provider contract, let me say that it's not in an ideal state. So I'm planning to do a little some refactor, cleanup, etc. And just this is just an heads up. So if you see page being shuffled around in the documentation, stuff like that, it is me trying to make things a little bit cleaner, doing a better separation between what is cluster API provider, core cluster API provider development, and provider developments, and try to have all the info for the contract in a single page, and now they are spread in 3 or 4 pages, stuff like that. Okay, so I don't see question about this one. Adil, next one.
Yes, so I am looking for some reviews from the maintainers. This is a PR that is adding a naming strategy in the KCP. So for naming the KCP machines, and which will be the same. So also the infra machines. I have got one LGTM, I think, from the maybe have. And it would be nice if Fabrizio and Christian and other people who can also review this PR. I have another PR for machine deployments also, but let's merge first this one, then I will open that one also for review.
Thank you for the heads up. It is in my to-do list, and I will try to get there soon. Maybe you want to give a heads up, a quick summary of what this PR is about, so maybe other folks that are interested can take a look.
So there was a change in the how we name our machines, which breaks some things in the downstream, because the infra machines names are same as the machine names. So we added, for temporary fix, we added a flag, which kept the legacy code for naming in machines. But we are planning to remove that flag in 1.9. And to fix that, we are fixed for to add a like actual fix. What we are doing is we are adding a naming strategy in the KCP, and user can define it how they name their machines and infra machines. This should fix that issue that downstream has. They can name it however they want, so they don't have to depend on something that is provided by the KPI. I'm not sure if it explains everything, but
No, thank you.
Yeah.
I think that, so just to give a little bit more, so there was a change in cluster PI, which was driven by some feedback. And this change basically made the name of machine, infra machine, bootstrap config for each machine all equal. And this greatly help folks when they are trying to debug issue. But the side effect was that someone was intentionally using infra machine to adopt some custom naming scheme. And basically the two needs sort of conflicted. And now we are making possible in a cleanest way to allow user to have a custom scheming machine naming scheme for infrastructure machine and machines. So I think this is a good improvement, and let's try to get in soon as possible.
Yep.
Okay.
Thanks for busy.
If there are no questions, we are at provider updates. I don't see provider updates. So we have feature group update. Mike?
Yep, we will have a Carpenter feature group meeting in about 30 minutes. And we decided at the last meeting that we will keep these going for now. I think we're going to update our the charter for the feature group as well, just to cover the work that we're going to continue doing. So yeah, if anyone's interested in Carpenter kind of updates and where we're at, come check out the feature group meeting.
Thank you for the PSA, Mike. And we are at the end of our agenda today with 30 minutes to spare. So if there are no further questions, I give you back 30 minutes.
Thanks, Fabrizio.
Thank you everyone for attending. See you next week. Bye.